if you're new, and welcome back, my OG Glammies. Hey. Okay, first of all, I know it's been a while. I haven't posted, and I am so sorry about that. Just life started to life, and I'm still trying to get into the rhythm of having a YouTube channel, having a TikTok, an Instagram, Facebook page. All of these pages and trying to create this content and batch create has been running me crazy. But I apologize. I am about to get on a regular schedule, so I will start getting you guys uploads every single week. I will let you know what day of the week that will be as soon as I figure it out. But without further ado, we're going to get into today's video, which is going to be a 2-in-1 special since I've been gone, and I apologize again. So today we're going to be doing travel braids. So it's going to be a full in-depth tutorial. As much as I love showing you guys how to do things on my mannequin, I know the girls really want to see live models and to see what the style is going to look like once it's all done. So today I'm going to give you guys a tutorial on how to do travel braids, as well as a tutorial on how to do human hair boho braids, okay? Like this, okay? If you want human hair boho braids, you want to know how to add in that human hair, secure it in, as well as learn how to do travel braids. And today is going to be that flip over method travel braids, where you got some knotless at the top, as well as that tribal style. That's what today's video is going to be. So without further ado, let's get into today's sponsor.
And today's video is brought to you guys by Ygwigs. Shout out to Ygwigs for reaching out to me and requesting to sponsor this video for today. They bought me a bunch of goodies with some of their bulk hair. First, they gave me 2 clips, an edge brush, and a carbon comb, which I will be putting to use because I love carbon combs because they're heat resistant. Then I got a flower clip in my baggie, as well as 3 bundles of their bulk human hair. This for each bundle has 2 separate mini bundles, but each package is 100 grams. So I have a total of 300 grams, which is equivalent to 3 bundles. Straight out of the package, I am absolutely loving this hair. I have their deep wave in the color 4. I love this hair. This is 18 inches. It is so incredibly soft. Like, let me tell you guys, I am adding this to my vendor list. I recommend everybody definitely purchase this hair. I will have a link on my screen. A code on my screen, as well as a link down below in the description box on how you can purchase this hair using my code as well. Let's get into this video. So I'm going to show you guys how to piece your hair when you're getting ready to prep for boho. You're going to need some jam of your choice. I'm going to use my neat braid. I used to use magic finger, but honestly, I need something with a little bit more of a hold because I'm doing this the night before. And when I wake up the next morning, magic jam tends to oxidize and break down. So it gets soft and then it's harder to grab the pieces. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your jam and you're going to remove your bundles so that you can go ahead and comb out the hair to make sure there's no tangles there. You're going to apply some of your product to your fingers and you're going to put it on the ends of the hair. I typically put it on about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of the ends of. Make sure you're using the right side. It needs to be the top blunt side. You're going to apply it to this. This is going to help you to piece the hair a lot easier and a lot faster as well. So I'm going to grab some of my hair. I like to use a decent size. I don't like for my pieces to be very skimpy at all. Also, when you're doing this, the hair does kind of stick to you because, of course, you have product on your fingers as well as on the braiding hair. So you'll get used to it and be able to quickly piece these together. As opposed to not using product, you tend to lose a lot of hair when you're not using product. So this is my method of doing it. Apply the product to the ends and then just go ahead and piece and make these the same size as much as possible. All the way through. I'm going to go ahead and prep all 3 bundles. I won't show you guys all 3 bundles on screen, but I will prep all 3 bundles so that this can cut down on my application time. Just a little background, it does take me about 10 to 12 hours to do a full head of boho knotless. Now we're doing tribal braids. This is actually my first time using human hair for tribal braids, so I don't know how long it'll take me, but I am doing medium size, so it should take me about the same amount of time that it takes me to do knotless, because when I do regular boho and regular knotless, they take me the same amount of time. So I am expecting for this to take me at minimum 10 hours, at max 12. I will be filming, so that'll add to the time as well. Now, starting off on our client's hair, freshly cleansed hair, shampoo, deep conditioned. She's had a recent trim. We're going to go ahead and part for our tribal braids. In order to find my parting for my tribal braids, the best thing you can do as a beginner or someone who doesn't know, place a comb at the top of the client's head, hold it in place, and right where the head starts to lift off of the comb, that is going to be the very tip of the head. That's going to be called the apex, which is where I have my red tail pointing. Then what I like to do is go about 1 inch to 1.5 inches back from that, and that is where I will part. So I am using my precision comb. You guys, I will have this link down below so you can get it off of my TikTok shop. I love these combs. I will have classes coming soon, and I will be giving out these combs as well. So once you found that spot at the top of the client's head, you're going to then part. From the middle part, you don't have to worry about it. I like to part in the middle just so it helps me to see, and so that I'm holding this comb directly at the top of her head. So I do a middle part at the top of her head, lining up with the bridge of her nose and going back. And then I'm going to go ahead and from that apex point, make my partings on both sides. So I already had that left side done. I'm going to show you guys on the right side. I kind of somewhat carved out, but I will come over here and clean up that parting. When you're doing this from that top of the head, you want to make sure that when you part down, your part falls behind the ear, directly where the ear ends, okay? That is very important because you don't want to minimize the amount of hair that you have on the sides of the head. Like, you want the length of the French braid that you're going to create there to have some room to be a little lengthy. I hope that's making sense, right? So you're going to make vertical braids in the front of her head. We need to make sure we have enough space going back for each one of those braids. This is why you want to stop in the back of the ear, right at the back of the ear. Okay, now that we have cleaned up our parting going across, horizontal across her head from ear to ear, we're going to go ahead and start on our knotless rows in the back of the head. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply some product to her nape so I can go ahead and clean up all of this hair and get it all gathered together. And then we're going to go ahead and start pre-parting our rows out. Now again, I am doing medium size knotless, so I will try to mimic the same amount of rows as I typically would do if I was doing regular knotless and not tribal braids. So she will have 7 rows in the back section for her knotless. Typically, I like to stay between 7 and 8. Now, starting off at the tip of her ear, I'm going to part over to her left ear, okay? From ear to ear, at the very tip, I'm going to part over. This is the same way I do it with regular knotless braids. I part from the tip of the ear over to the tip of the other ear, and there are 3 rows below this. Now, because she does have fine hair, especially you can see how sparse it was in her nape, I do not want to cause any excess tension on her nape, because we are doing boho braids and because of how many curls are going to be coming from each braid, which is going to add to the weight of that. We want to make sure it's proportioned. So for her, she's only going to have 2 rows below her ear. Also, she does have a shorter space below her ear. Okay, so from the tip of her ear down to the back of her nape, it is shorter than what a lot of clients tend to have. And also because her hair is fine, I'm going to be sure to only do 2 rows, because that very first row when I part it, and you guys will see right now, we need to make sure that there's enough hair there. So I'm going to split this in half to do my 2 rows, which is going to be about 1 inch a piece. Typically, it's about 3/4 of an inch, but if I do 3/4 of an inch, it wouldn't be 3/4 of an inch for her because of how short her nape is. And you can see how sparse the hair is back there, that if I try to force 3 rows back here, it is going to cause that very first row to be so thin that it's going to cause tension on the nape, which is how you experience traction alopecia, and we definitely don't want to do that on our client's head. So 2 rows for her is going to suffice, and you will see that it will still be even and it will still be the same size once I'm done as what I would do on someone who has a longer nape as far as the sizing of my boxes. Okay, now that I've finished these 2 rows, I'm just going to go ahead and twist them up, and now I'm using my precision comb, the ruler on the side of it, to measure out 1 inch, and right there is where it's going to be 1 inch. So that is showing me where I'm going to part. And the reason why I'm going with 1 inch is because that's the same size of the 2 rows below. So 1 inch is our sizing, which is why she's only going to have 7 rows. Okay, this is very important to know, that 1 inch on her head looks the same exact size as 1 inch on someone else's head who has a longer nape. They just end up having more rows. I really want you guys to understand that this is why it's important to have a sizing chart, but know that you have to alter your sizing chart to the client's head based off of their density and the thickness of their hair, as well in the size of their actual head. So I went ahead and I carved out my 3rd row. I'm just creating a twist to go ahead and clip this away. And then I'm going to continue to finish the rest of her rows. I'm going to do the next 2 rows, and then I'll come back to you guys and explain the last 2 rows for you, because we will not continue on following the curve of her head. Right now, for the next 2 rows, we're going to follow the curve of her head. But once we get to the top, we're going to do a little switch up, and I'll explain why. Okay, we got the first 5 rows done. Now, with the last 2 rows, instead of following the curve of her head like I've been doing, I'm actually going to part horizontally across. It's still going to be an inch in size, but I'm parting horizontally across because typically when you follow the curve of the head, when you're doing tribal braids in the back of the head, that very top row, those will not be in the shape of a box. They will actually be one box in the middle and then 2 triangles on the outside. And if you've ever done tribals before, you'll know what I'm talking about. Typically, that's what happens, and I want those triangles to be hidden. So that is why I chose to part directly across, and then I'm going to go ahead and complete and close off the top section. And I'll show you guys what it'll look like, because that'll make the top row have all boxes, which will help to lay over the row right below it where the triangles lie. I will definitely make sure I catch that on screen and show you guys once all her braids are in, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and it looks great. Okay, I'm going to turn around and you guys can see how that bottom row looks. You can tell that because of the shape of the row right below the top, it's going to be triangle shapes. Okay, so again, I'll show you guys once all her braids are in what that row looks like and how I'm going to use the top row to continue to make boxes to cover that up. So I went ahead and I applied her first row of braids at the bottom. When you do your first row of braids for human hair knotless, even synthetic, never put any curls on that first row. And you'll see when I do human hair boho braids, I do a slip knot on the end. I do not put any of the human hair curly pieces at the ends of the braids. I actually use perm rods to rod the hair. When I do synthetic, I actually apply synthetic hair at the ends. This is the difference I do. This is how I choose to do it. You can absolutely put the human hair curls on the ends. So I'm going to go ahead and do a braid here for you guys. Just starting off with a regular knotless, braiding down one time. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to add in my pieces of braiding hair, so that I can build up this thickness a little bit, and also to make sure I'm creating the size of the braid that I want. I try to keep the braids at a decent size that is proportioned to the size of this box. I'm not going to have it big or anything like that whatsoever. And I'm going to make sure I tuck all of her hair, because her hair is the natural color. It's like a natural 1B/2. And we're using the color for braiding hair. So whether I was using the same color as her hair or not, we're always going to make sure we're tucking the hair. Now we went ahead and we added in our first piece of human hair. Don't worry, I am going to actually show you guys what it looks like to add these pieces. I will show you for a braider who braids with their thumbs like me. I call this braiding with your thumbs. So I use my thumb to hold the hair, whereas some people use their pointer finger. I'll show you guys what that looks like. So adding in our human piece here, I'm just putting it in my left hand. I'm using my thumb to push the hair up to the base of the braid, and I continue to braid down like I normally would. I'm going to apply some product to her hair, push it to the back, and I'm going to continue to braid to make sure I'm still fully tucking. Now I have to make sure I'm tucking her hair as well as the blunt ends of this human hair. So this really slows down your timing because you want to make sure that hair is not poking out of the braid, whether it's her real hair or the boho hair, right? I'm still going to apply some product that was the ends of the boho hair. Now this is the ends of her hair. We still got to make sure we're tucking all those blunt ends and continue to braid down so nothing is peeking out. And on the second and third row, I added separate pieces. So on the second row, I did 5 pieces per braid. On the third row, I did 6 pieces per braid. I didn't know if I wanted to do 5 or 6. When I did that first row of 5, I kind of was like, I feel like I want to do one more piece. So that's the only reason why they were done like that. I would normally actually do 6 pieces for both of those rows. So I'm doing another piece here of the human hair. And as you can see, when you're adding this human hair piece in, you want to braid down a few times. Notice how I add in the whole piece and I braid down the whole piece about 3 to 4 times before I actually pull the piece out of the braid. This is very important. This is how you secure that hair into the braid. I see a lot of people who only add in the blunt end and then they right away, as soon as they add the piece into the braid, they pull it out and they continue to braid down just that blunt end. That is the worst way to add this hair in, because what's going to happen is when this hair will get old, it will tangle around the braids, and what's going to happen is the client's going to need to detangle their hair, and as soon as they go to detangle, the whole piece is going to come out. So it's very important to make sure you're securing the whole piece in. I'm going to show you guys what that looks like again. Right now, I'm just showing you the first 3 rows that I've done. Again, I did no pieces of curls. On the first row, the second row, I have 5 pieces. The third row, I have 6 pieces. And this is per braid. I do not skip any braids. There's not going to be any braids other than that first row that don't have curls on them. Also notice how I continue to maintain my brick layers. This is important. Make sure you're bricklaying every single row, except for there's an exception. I'll show you guys. So right now I'm just giving you guys another close-up at another angle of how I start off my braid, starting off with the regular knotless. Then I'm going to start to add in my pieces of my braiding hair, making sure that I am tucking the client's hair. And as you can see right here, you can see where the row that I'm doing right now and the row below it, you can see how they're lined up. Those rows are not following the bricklay pattern. There is a reason for that. And that is because those rows going horizontally are exactly the same length. So it's hard to do the bricklay method. If you're going to do it, you would have to make one row with the boxes bigger and one row with the boxes smaller. And for me, it's more important that my boxes are the same size. So I chose to not do the bricklay method on these 2 rows. And this is what happens with all of my tribal braids and will absolutely happen with yours. I'm going to let these 2 rows be lined up with each other. Trust me, it'll be fine. The top 3 rows, they will continue to follow the bricklay method and it will cover that up. It will not look funny or anything like that. This only happens with tribal braids. It doesn't typically happen when you're doing knotless. So I'm going to continue to braid down, and right now I'm just trying to make sure I'm grabbing the blunt ends of that human hair the right way so I can make sure it's fully tucked in. Make sure you will use products to help you braid, and notice how I am making sure that hair is covering the blunt ends and applying products, smoothing it out with my comb, doing whatever it is that I need to do to make sure this hair is fully tucked. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you braid a little bit different. So if you're someone who braids with your first 3 fingers downward like this, I'm using my pointer finger to push the hair up now instead of my thumb. So I'm no longer braiding with my thumbs. I'm braiding this way. This way is actually pretty difficult to me, so I'm gonna revert back to my regular way of braiding. It also slows me down, but I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like if you hold the hair different from the way I hold it and how you would apply it. I will show you guys that on screen again, the same method of if you're an underhand braider, what it would look like to braid. Right here you can see I purposely just continue to braid without even trying to tuck the hair. And you can see how the blunt ends of the human hair completely came out. This is why it's very important to make sure that you're applying products, to make sure that you are covering the hair and everything, because we don't want that to happen. And I've seen people who will continue to braid down and then they'll cut that later. That was a big no-no. Don't do that. The reason why is because now that size, all you did was shorten the amount of hair that the client has if they're going to detangle their hair, right? If I need to detangle that curl, as soon as I start to detangle, it's going to completely slide out. So I hope you guys are really understanding why I'm saying it's very important to add in the full piece just like this. And notice on one side, I use about 2.5 to 3 inches of the blunt side when I fold it, and I continue to braid down about 3 to 4 times, and then I pull the piece out. This is going to make sure you're securing the hair as much as possible. This gives them room to tug. It does not mean that they can't pull on this hard enough and make the curls come out, but it definitely gives wiggle room for when they're going to detangle their hair, especially for me, because I'm a big advocate for washing your hair while you have braids in, even when you have the boho style. You can definitely wash this hair. It is tedious, but it can be done, and it revives your curls amazingly when you do that. So right here, I'm just making sure I'm showing you guys different angles of what it looks like to braid. And this is not, it's sped up just so I can get through this. I will slow it down again so I can give you guys some more in-depth tutorials on how we're going to secure this human hair into the braids. If you need help with how to braid or how to pre-part and how to create brick lays, then I will have the links to those videos down below. You will want to watch those videos first because they're really in depth on teaching you how to do that. This video is for someone who already understands those logics. So now we're at the top of her head, and this is where those 2 rows went into play. When I went horizontally across, you see how there's 2 triangles in the middle of her head? I didn't want those triangles to be at the last row, at the very top row, which is why I created the horizontal part going over. Now this top row, all of this is going to be 4 boxes, and they will actually have the box shape, which will then allow me to cover up the triangle shape of the rows below. That is why I did that like that. And again, once we're done, I will make sure I show you guys what that looks like. So as we know, on the first row, I did no curls. On the second row, I did 5 curls. And on the third row, I did 6. I want you guys to know on your second and third row, do the same amount of curls. And then on my 4th and 5th row, 4th, 5th, 6th, and my 7th row, I'm going to do 10 curls coming out of each of her braids. And this is the same way I do it when I'm doing knotless. I increase the amount of curls that I do so that one, you don't need to have all the braids having the same amount of curls when there's rows above it. 2, as you get to the top of the head, you do want to increase the amount of curls that you're pulling out of these braids so that it creates a fuller look. And I like for my boho to be very, very full, kind of like Boho braids. I like for them to be very full. I want you to have the best of both worlds. I want it to look like you got a sew in and it look like you got braids. Like, we like the best of both worlds over here. You seen what my braids look like at the beginning. So now giving you guys another angle of what it'll look like to start one of these braids. Of course, we just start off by doing one braid down based off of the density of her hair. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to feed in my braiding hair. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch hand positions from overhand to underhand because it's easier for me to add in the human hair pieces with underhand. Apply it to my left hand. I'm going to use my pointer finger on my right hand to push the hair up to the base. And I'm going to continue to braid down. And this is what it looks like for most underhand braiders to braid. Again, I'm an underhand braider who braids with her thumbs. So I changed the way I started to braid because I don't want it to slow me down. I'm going to go ahead and pull out this first curl. And I'm going to continue to braid down. And the amount of hair that I have left of the human hair to braid down is about 2.5 inches. So you really want to make sure you're giving yourself enough space to braid down. Once you pull out that curl, there still needs to be some of the human hair that you're braiding down into the braid for length. This gives more room so that if the hair does start to slide out, there's plenty of room on that end where it doesn't completely come out. Hope that makes sense. Now I want to show you guys what it's going to look like to do the ends of these braids. I do a slip knot. I'm going to take out some of the hair, not too thin, not too thick, apply some product to it, and I'm going to wrap around 3 to 4 times before creating my slip knot. Then I'm going to use my pointer finger to make a circle, pull the hair in between my pointer finger and my thumb, tighten it, and keep going. So this is what it looks like using my pointer finger, wrap around the back of that braid that made a loop, slide my thumb in between that loop, put the excess hair in between my pointer finger and my thumb so I can pull it through that loop. And I'm going to pull it taut, not too tight where it snaps this piece of hair. And I'm going to do that 6 times. That is how I create my slip knot. That is how I seal the ends of the hair. And for reference, if anyone wants to know, there's about 5 to 6, maybe about 6 to 7 inches of hair left over at the end for me to rod. I like for it to be lengthy. It will blend in with the curls. Now you can see here, this is what it looks like to have those triangles hidden over the top, that top layer. And I'm just showing you guys how I followed my brick lay pattern, except for the 2 rows that I told you about. This will happen to you, so you want to make sure you're taking note of that. But notice how all of my boxes are the same size. So for me, this is a cleaner look than to try to maintain my brick lay pattern and force some boxes to be smaller and some to be bigger. So these 2 rows are lined up with each other. Can't even tell. Her hair is so full, it doesn't matter. And then I continue to maintain my brick lay pattern as well. Now getting to the top of her head, I went ahead and I did the right side already. And then I have this middle section and then I have to do the left side. So first we're going to start off by creating a triangle at the top of her hair. I'm going to use my precision comb to measure the length, which is about 2 inches of the side that I made on the right. And I'm going to make sure my left side is measured up to that as well. And I need to add a little bit more hair. So I'm going to part again, and I'm creating a triangle. So it's like an oblong triangle going from the middle part. This is where it's important to make a middle part because I am going to do a mirror effect. So each side of her head is going to have the same designs. So that's where that middle part is going to come into play to make sure that I have this design centered. And I went ahead and I parted from there. We're going to clean that up and we're going to clip it off out of our way. Once we're done here, we're going to go ahead and make our second row, measure that out. This is going to be about 1.5 inches. And this side is going to be the row for her knotless. So as you guys know, when you're doing flip over when you're doing flip over tribal braids, you have knotless at the top as well as the tribal. That's what this row is that I'm creating. This is going to be the row that has the knotless on it. And I'm not going to do boxes. I'm actually going to do triangles on this. So I'll show you guys what that looks like later. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and clean up that part so I can move on to the next section. And the next section, she's going to have a snake design, and then she's going to have 2 straight back designs. And I'm about to show you guys what that looks like here. So right now I'm in the middle of doing her snake design. When I parted this section out, I made this about 1.5 inches. No, it's like 1 3/4 inches. A little under 2 inches. And then you're going to go ahead and part those vertically going down to create a snake effect. So once I finish this braid, you guys will see what it looks like for me to part out in order to go around and do this snake design. Zigzag, whatever you want to call it. So now that I have this part done, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like for me to go ahead and part. Remove my clip, and I'm going to part off a little bit of this section. So I only have 2 snakes to go left. I'm going to go ahead and part this off, apply my product, clean up my part, and continue my snake. And something that I want to mention is at the front of the hair, when you're doing French braids like this or feed-in braids, right? You don't need to apply a lot of braiding hair at all. Her hair is fine. I do want these braids to be thinner. I don't want them to be really thick and bulky. So I took 3 small pieces. They're tiny. And I applied some braiding hair because I will tell you this. Applying braiding hair to your feed-ins do help them to last longer. So I was able to do 3 very small pieces. However, you don't need a lot of hair. If her hair was thicker, there's a possibility that I wouldn't have used any hair at all and it would have been able to last perfectly fine. But because of the density that she has, I did add some. Also, she has very, very soft hair. Very naturally silky hair. Her hair is not very kinky at all. Her curls are amazing. She has like that type 3 hair. So she does need a little braiding hair added to help the hair to adhere and last longer. Okay, now that I am off the scalp, I'm going to go ahead and add my normal pieces and do it just like I was doing it in the back of her head with the knotless. I'm applying some braiding hair so I can build up the size of the braid and help with the length, as well as start to apply my human boho pieces just like I normally would, making sure to secure these in as best as I can and continue on. The next 2 rows that I have down below, it's going to be 2 straight back, kind of on a slant, because this whole design at the top of her head is on a slant due to the triangles that I created in the middle. And they're just going to be 2 straight back braids, 2 straight back feed ends with a little braiding hair added. And here's what that looks like. And as you guys can see, she has really fine edges. They are naturally like that. They've been like that her whole life. And of course, this is normal for someone who has fine hair, that their edges are really fine. I do not agree with braiding on those edges whatsoever. So we tend to do a lot of baby hair looks, which is perfectly fine for her because she is also a hairstylist and a braider. So she knows how to keep up with her edges, and she knows what's best for her hair. And also I've been doing her hair for about 4 years now. So her hairline has not gotten any worse, and it hasn't gotten any better because this is naturally her hairline. This is what it looks like. I actually love her hairline because this is the type of hairline that looks best with baby hairs, because it's kind of what baby hairs was meant for. This is the hairline that baby hairs was created off of. People who had more of a sparse, thin, but she also naturally has baby hairs. Like, these are natural baby hairs. They're so soft and zealous. It's crazy. Like, that's her. I love her hair so much. I love doing her hair. I use her as a model a lot. So right now I'm doing that row of knotless. I told you guys that her knotless braids are going to be triangles. So I'm just going ahead in that row and I'm creating my triangles. There will be 6 knotless braids on this row. It would be done exactly like the knotless braids in the back. She would have the human hair boho pieces coming out of these braids as well. And I'm going to do 7, I believe I did 7 or 8 pieces at the front because I didn't need to do 10. So I went ahead and I finished those knotless and applied them to the triangles. And this is what it looks like. Very, very flexible, not stiff at all. We can easily flip these over. They will lay flat. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the top section of her hair off camera. And then we're going to go ahead and come back so we can finish the ends. Now we're working on the ends of her hair, and this is the part where we're going to apply the perm rods so that we can create those curls on the ends and have them blend with the rest of her hair, and then the hairstyle will be complete. So right now I'm just searching for all of the ends of these braids. I do about 3 or 4 braids per perm rod, and I'm going to go ahead and apply my perm rod to the ends of this hair. I will slow it down to show you guys what it looks like. So I apply the rod to the back and I start to twist the hair while also rotating around the rod. So you want the hair to also be twisted while you're also going around that rod. This is going to create a nice fluffy curl, and a curl that matches in between this curl pattern. Then you're going to go ahead and seal your rod off and move on to the next section. So you're going to find the ends of your braids. You're going to line up the knots to each other, and then you're going to go ahead and apply your rod, making sure to hold the base of the braids while twisting around your rod. As I get to the end, I then rod back over with the little stringy pieces of the hair. That helps the rod seal, and it's very easy to still remove this rod. Here's another way you can apply the rod if you want to keep the rod upright. You'll still hold it and twist around the rod while you're moving down to the end of the rod. It doesn't change anything whether you held the rod sideways or if you're holding it upright like so. Now that we're all done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take a couple of rods, about 3 or 4 rods, and I'm going to dip them in the hot water, and I'm dipping only the rods. So I went ahead, I grabbed the rods together, I pushed all the curls up so that I'm not dipping the curls, the human hair boho curls into the water, because I don't want to do that right now. I'm only dipping the ends of the hair, just enough to saturate that. And then I will move on and show you guys how to completely finish dipping the rest of the hair. So now that I've went ahead and I finished dipping the rest of her hair, I'm now going to gather all of her hair together, have her tilt back. I have a bucket at the bottom, and I also have a towel under that bucket so it can catch up all the water. And I'm just going to pour all of this water, hot water, over the hair instead of dipping it. It's a lot easier when you do it this way because, especially in this tea kettle, the rods get stuck around the base of this tea kettle. So I just dip like this, and you don't need the hot water to sit on the hair for a very long time. You just need it to touch just a little bit. Once I got all of that fully saturated, making sure to check for every single braid, because this also helps to loosen up your braids, and it also sets your curls as well. We're going to allow this to cool down. We will let it dry just a little bit, and then I will go ahead and put her under the dryer so the top section of her hair that I have the Xanax strips on, that can dry, because I have mousse on there and I applied a little bit of holding spray on that. I'm gonna let that dry down so it catches any flyaways, so her hair is nice and sleek, and then I'll show you guys the end results. If you're new to my channel, do not forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. And thank you so much to my OG Glammies for coming back for another one. I will keep you guys updated on when I will be doing my regular uploads. It will be on the same day at the same time, once a week, as soon as I figure out what that information will be. Here's the end result of her hair. Her hair is actually still wet. I did not diffuse it at all, which typically I would do. I didn't do it because it's 12 a.m. so we're ready to go. I'm just getting the end of my clips. Also, make sure you guys comment down below letting me know what is it that you would like to see next. Again, this is not just a braided channel. I do all hairstyles. My next upload will be a quick weave that I have already filmed. I just need to edit that and get it posted for you guys. Also, moving forward, I will be giving post shout outs on my channel for every single video that I do. And I'm going to start off my first 3 post shout outs. This one's gonna go to Shaq's Beauty Parlor, aka Shakira Reed. Thank you so much for always reaching out to me via DM, asking questions. I'm always here to help you. My second post shout out goes out to somebody who I see a lot, and this goes out to Gabriella Reed. I hope I said that right. Thank you so much, Gabriella, for always commenting and asking questions. And she follows me on IG and TikTok as well. And I appreciate you so much, all the way to Katy, Texas. And my third post shout out is going to go to Linda Champagne, aka Chardonnay, on Instagram. She also requested this video. Thank you so much for being a viewer and being a supporter. I love you guys so much. And if you want to get shout out on my next post or my next YouTube video, then all you got to do is comment these emojis right here and in this order: royal blue, light blue, royal blue, light blue, heart. And I will know that you are someone who watches my YouTube channel, and you can get picked at random to get a post shout out. Thank you guys again so much for coming to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. See you later, my glammies.